What's going on, guys? Welcome to this week's video. Today we're going to talk about the Jeep Gladiator, and more specifically, would I trade my F-150 for it? Alright guys, for those of you that haven't heard yet, the Jeep Gladiator is out. Or it's about to be. Most resources I've seen are expecting them to start popping up on dealership lots towards the end of May. Now, I've been looking at these trucks for a long time since I first heard about them, and as a former Jeep owner, they really kind of piqued my interest. And I've always kind of got that bug in the back of my mind, would I like to trade my truck for something else? And the Jeep Gladiator is definitely a tempting option. Now, if you've seen my previous video where I talked about the depreciation I've seen on my truck so far, when I looked up the Blue Book value on my truck, best case scenario, my truck's worth about 25 grand. Now that we can go on the Jeep website and price out Gladiators, I kind of wanted to compare that to what my truck was worth. So the base price for a new Gladiator, this is going to be the sport model, is $33,545. Assuming I could get 25 grand for my truck, that's really not that big of a price difference. But my truck's also a fully loaded truck, so I'm not really looking to go back to a very base model vehicle if I was to trade. So I also priced out a Sport S model and a Rubicon. The Sport S with a few options, basic things like the upgraded audio system and whatnot, that came in around 45 grand. Pricing out a Rubicon jumped up to about $53,000 or more. You can actually price out one of the Rubicons above 60 grand, which is definitely a little crazy in my book. But I do think you get a lot out of the Gladiator compared to some of the other mid-size trucks on the market. So we're going to start off with the reasons I would not want to trade my F-150 for the Gladiator. Reason number one, my truck is paid off. Now, I was lucky enough to pay my truck off pretty quickly, so it's sitting at about 50,000 miles. If I really wanted to drive it into the ground, I have a lot of time left with that vehicle. Plus, if I was to keep doing modifications to it, not having a car payment makes budgeting out modifications a lot easier. Number two, the interior space. It's a lot bigger than something like a Jeep can offer. While I don't use it that often, having a backseat that size has definitely been a luxury, and I think it's something that might be hard to get used to not having again. Number three, again, going back to that whole depreciation talk. My truck has already taken that big hit of depreciation. Now, yes, it's going to keep depreciating to the point where it's honestly not worth trading. If I was to keep that truck for another 4 or 5 years, I'm going to lose a lot less money on that than I would compared to a new vehicle. And yes, I know Jeeps hold their value better than pretty much any other vehicle on the market, but I still think my truck would lose me less money. Number four, if I was going to trade my truck for something, I'm not sure I'd want to get another truck. Yes, I do like the capability, having a bed. They're really handy when you need one, but it's more the potentially being bored of just the style of vehicle. For those of you that don't know, I'm a big Mustang guy. I love performance cars. Anytime I get something like a Jeep, I always have trouble not looking at performance cars, Mustangs, Corvettes, all that sort of stuff. It really makes me want to get back into a car like that. So if I'm going to spend the money to trade up to another brand new car, do I really want to get one that's functionally pretty much the same as my current vehicle? Another reason I wouldn't want to trade my truck for a Gladiator is I don't have a lot of places to go off-road where I live, and that wouldn't really change for a Jeep. And honestly, if I got a Jeep, I would want to go off-road even more. So I think it would kind of compound that problem and that frustration of having a vehicle like that and not being able to use it. And I've also kind of considered too, talking about money and all of that, would I just enjoy having a cheaper toy, something like an older Mustang or even an older Jeep, and just keeping the truck as a reliable daily driver. And then that way, if something were to happen to my truck or the project car, I would always have another vehicle on the side that I could drive. So that brings us to the reasons I would consider trading my F-150 for a Gladiator. Sometimes my F-150, it is a bit big for a daily driver. Yes, the interior space is nice when it comes to going through drive-thrus, parking garages, tiny parking spaces. Sometimes the size can be a little more frustrating when you consider that 90% of the time I'm driving just myself, and I really don't need a vehicle that big. The second reason kind of goes back to me being interested in other types of cars. I am a huge car guy. I love cars, trucks, motorcycles, you name it. Anything with a motor, I pretty much enjoy it. And because I like a little bit of everything, I'm always looking at something new. I do think something like a Gladiator, it's new. Jeep hasn't made a vehicle like that in a long time. No one else sells a convertible pickup truck, so I think it's a very unique vehicle that will give me a lot of joy for a long time. The Gladiator still has, the 4 doors, room for car seats, and a small bed that I could use on those occasions where I do want to load up something bigger in the back, or if I still found something that I needed to tow. The Gladiator is actually very well rated in that marking. Another thing is too, the Jeep community, it's huge online in my local area. Jeeps, they're kind of like Harley Davidsons of the car world. Wherever you go, you can always meet people based on that type of vehicle. There's always clubs, meetups, things like that. I miss being a part of that. The fourth reason, the Gladiator, it's a very interesting platform. Not only can you get it in a manual option, but again, no one else can offer a vehicle that you can take the doors off, take the top off. If you've never been in a Jeep and actually done that, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's a very thrilling experience. It's something I miss doing, and I think it would make the driving experience a lot more fun. The fifth reason, Jeeps are very mod friendly. Now I've made videos talking about the different mods I did to my F-150, so I think it would be really fun to, launch a new video series as I modify the Jeep. And not only are they mod friendly, but they're easy to modify, especially when it comes to things like suspension work. Having solid axles makes things a lot easier. And on that topic, I'm kinda burnt out on mods for the F-150. Yes, I put a lot of money into it, but when I really think about it long term, I feel like if I do a whole lot more to it right now, I just don't really have that desire to keep modding it, because I've already got it in my head that at some point I'm gonna trade it. So any more money I put into it at this point might be kind of a waste. And the last reason I would consider trading my truck for the Gladiator is, again, kind of coming back to that whole top off, doors off thing. Just the thrill of driving. Cruising around is one of my favorite things to do. I used to do it all the time in my Jeep, but when I got the F-150, while it was a nice driver, it's a nice place to be, it's not something I ever really went out for just a cruise, just to clear my head or anything like that. It's just not really a pleasure vehicle, at least to me. Whereas I think if I were to get a Jeep, I think that might be a bit different. Even if you can't take the top and doors off, it's just a very interesting, it's kind of a toy-like experience, the way you sit in there. They're very boxy, they're very unique, and I like that. But guys, I've got to wrap up this video real quick. My camera battery's dying. I did not think to charge it. So I just want to hit you guys with a couple questions real quick. Do you think the Gladiator is going to be a better truck than the Colorado or the Canyons or the Tacoma or even the new Ford Ranger? And if you were going to buy a Jeep, would you pick the Gladiator or would you pick the Wrangler? Hit me up in the comments. Let me guys know what you think. I'll see you in the next video. Y'all take care. Don't forget to subscribe.